Welcome to the Dynasty Academy. Michael Washington, Mark is being a pompous ass before we came on air, and Mark Ongst.
Well, I mean, you are. I'm not. I mean, you are.
Eli Manuel.
Why would you draft a wide receiver too?
Eli, you can cut this out.
You could leave it in, too.
Restart.
Kyler Murray has a fantastic arm. It's just the decision-making for him, for me. Michael Vick just made better decisions, I feel like, overall.
Makes sense. I said 1 or 2 inches, growing 1 or 2 inches, and you're like,
And he's still going,
I have leagues on too many apps. I don't know what to follow.
Welcome to Dynasty Academy. I'm Michael Washington. He's Mark Onks. We are back after a couple-week layoff. It's nice to be back, Mark. I know you've had a pretty crazy couple Thursdays there and whatnot, but
summertime.
back, though. Yeah,
Summertime.
summertime. And it's also off season, so it's also kind of like a I don't know. It's not as busy, you know.
Past
there's
rookie drafts. You're
Right.
maybe doing some startups, but
Yeah, is it startups maybe, or you're doing 160 rounds back to back like you and I did, between the NFL and college. Did you find the co owning experience in the C2C to be
Much
as
more
enthralling
enjoyable.
as when you found it more enjoyable?
yeah, it's like after a while, and I think doing them back to back, trying to find new players for the campus side draft becomes quite difficult for 50 more rounds with new people taking some people you never heard of. Jeremiah Smith going number 1 overall.
Yeah. I've this last draft that we did on the campus, that was pretty crazy. For those of you that are tuning in, that as far as the Dynasty Academy is concerned, we're fantasy football. We do a campus to Canton, Devi, Dynasty. Occasionally we might throw in like a redraft episode or a segment to just appease some people who play redraft. But overall, it's pretty much we focus on the Devi and C2C side, and we did a campus to Canton draft where we drafted 50 rounds, and then we did another one right back to back, and the second draft was crazy. Like there was players that were drafted in the first one in like round 31 that were going in like round 12. So these things are unpredictable, that is for sure. Pretty crazy. I actually found the experience to be pretty enjoyable because it was nice to be able to bounce players off one another.
I agree. That's what I mean. It just, instead of having to just try and find them for yourself and then wonder, okay, am I taking this guy too early? Should we wait? Should you not wait? What do you like? It just, I think it made it so much more fun.
Yeah, I think
just doing it all on your own. And
I-
honestly, at this point for me, we have a very big group of people we play with a lot.
yeah.
So like this way we got another new person in, and it really, for me, doesn't take the experience away. Co-owning a team with you doesn't change much for me at this point. I have more than enough leagues on my own that I really at this point don't care that much to run my own team alone anymore.
I mean, to be fair, you and I could probably take all our teams and combine them anyways, and I mean, we run very similar thought processes and stuff, so it's it works out pretty well for us. So in the long run, makes it really easy too. Makes it super easy. So if you have a co-owner out there that thinks like, or a person that thinks like you in fantasy football, co-own a couple teams with them. Seriously, it won't break your friendship, I promise.
I mean, unless you are just like complete opposites in how you decide to draft, even if you're just somewhat opposite, you'll find it enjoyable. Unless you're complete opposites, that's the only time.
Yeah, Clemfens, what's his real name? Kenny, I think.
Kenny, yeah,
Yeah, he had a buddy that wanted to join in. A couple of them, he co-owned one, and then they split up in this last one. So, I'm
Mongo.
curious to what his thoughts would be. Mongo, yeah. Curious to what their thoughts would be as far as, the overall experience between co-owning and individually owning. I'm sure there's a little bit of selfishness in there for some owners that are like, I want my team, but
Yeah,
overall,
and you have to be open to maybe being told no. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be. I mean, luckily for us, I don't think we had very many no's. I think it was more me just going, hey, I pivoted off this guy. Let's go here.
I think you told yourself no more than you told me no.
I do that every draft, though. It doesn't matter where I am. It happens all the time. So, but shout out to everybody that's in the C2C leagues that might be tuning in and whatnot, because, hey, we like to have it fun. We'd like to make it, as fun as possible here. And we have our first question. It's from somebody named Patty on YouTube. They said, should I take Henry, Olave, or Devontae PPR? Well, first, Patty, I got a question to stick around here because I need to know what kind of league is it? Is it a dynasty league? Is it a redraft league? And where are you picking? Because those are all very, very important in this situation. In a vacuum, I'm going to say Chris Olave every single time. But, I mean, Devontae in a PPR redraft would make sense depending on where you are at this point. So, I don't know about you, Mark.
Redraft, I could keep a redraft. Okay, so 6th pick. Who did you keep already?
And do you lose that pick?
What round do you lose that pick in?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, if you lose a round at all, some of them may not be losing a round. If it's the 6th pick overall, and you haven't kept somebody yet, I would say Olave. That's high though, but it's tough because Devontae's there too.
For me, it would be Olave.
They kept
DJ Moore in the 8th round. Oh, that's a
steal. That's a great steal.
I mean, that's where DJ Moore was going last year when he was the Bears and he traded and you didn't know what you were getting. He was kind of underwhelming with the Panthers. He was good but not great. So
they're talking.
I would take
second
Olave.
round pick. I'm taking Olave then. If it's your second round pick, I'm taking Olave then.
Just for the opportunity that let's say I can't. Maybe I can't keep DJ Moore next year. You only keep the one guy 1 year sometimes. Some leagues run that way. Right, I want to have the option of Olave because honestly, Devontae may retire. There's this weird Aaron Rodgers thing with him. So sure, maybe he plays for the Jets next year. I don't know, but that's not that enticing long term.
I think Patty, when you're looking at a keeper league too, it's always good to go with the younger guy that's proven it or proving it, because if you're able to hold on to them for longer than a year, it gives you a little bit of stability at the position. And Olave is working his way into that. Yeah, his quarterback situation isn't the greatest, but I think Derek Carr kind of gets a bad rap. It's more Dennis Allen for me as the coaching on the coaching side for the Saints, but Olave doesn't really have a ton of people that are going to take away from him. Even with Kamara being there, I don't think Kamara is the first option anymore. I think this offense is going to run through Olave. So I would say if this is your second round pick, I absolutely would take Olave there for sure, and try to stick with a good mix and good blend of veterans and younger players. So that way you have that option should a guy like Puka Nacua strike again. Like I can't imagine where he was taken in keeper leagues. If he was taken at all, was probably off the waiver wire. So, like, so always try to get a good blend and a good mix in there as well. Don't focus too much on one side over the other. It's the same with C2C, these C2C leagues too. You're going to take Brees in the first. That's perfect. That's awesome. Like that. I think that's
that makes not keeping Henry easier.
Yeah,
like,
that makes
with it being a redraft keeper, I'd probably be considering Henry over Devontae at that point, just to have that running back. But taking Brees, you can take the two wide receivers and have, because Olave had 1,100 yards last year with a little bit of competition. I think there's even less there now. So.
Yeah, and exactly, Patty. Hall, Olave, and Moore is a fantastic 1-2-3 punch without a doubt. And Olave can be that wide receiver one if you're ever worried that DJ Moore can't be. So, but Moore is going to be a high-end wide receiver 2 for you, so it's perfect. And Brees is going to be a top 3 running back in the league as long as he stays healthy. So,
and you just fill in that third, fourth, fifth round with just quality players to go around them.
And maybe in that third you'll see Adams because a lot of people are kind of soured on him. So maybe
you might see Henry.
You might see Henry. Yeah.
Either one of them in that third round. With the 6th pick, you're only talking 4 picks in that rest of that second round. I don't think people are going to jump all over Derrick Henry that early.
Yeah, and a 10-teamer as
and
well.
If they do,
also,
if they do, take the person that falls.
Oh, and you got 2 6 as well. You should fill out a nice team. You should be all right and fill out a pretty good team with that. Then, just gotta be smart with your draft. Make sure you get some balance because it's extremely important as well. Hot Take City is with us. Hello, he says hello, gentlemen. Hello, Hot Take City.
Hot take is the question that we were that sparked our show tonight.
That sparked our show tonight. Yes, Hot Take City. Thank you for the thank you for you and Sam as well, and for putting a tag on us. So tonight's show, we will interact with fans and get to your questions and thought processes as well throughout the course of the night. If you were going to go ahead and put some comments down there, but your question or poll, I believe it was, about the trade sparked one of our favorite shows. This is one of our favorite shows that we do. Theme
This is
shows.
my favorite. This is my favorite.
It's Twitter trades and our discussions and thought processes. You'll hear me a lot tonight say roster construction is important. So every time you hear one of those, put $1 in the swear jar. By the end of the night, you'll probably be able to retire. In a vacuum too. I mean, stuff like that as well. But Mark scoured probably furiously, or probably just scrolling the Twitter sphere, looking for dynasty trades or trades in general, I guess. Probably most likely dynasty trades in July, but surrounding, I guess the future here. A lot of rookie drafts are done, so it's not really going to be probably involve a lot of rookie picks, and we're heading into what is it next Thursday? The first preseason.
Next Thursday we have a football game. Yeah.
Next Thursday, the NFL is back with the first preseason game. What is it, the Bears and Texans, the Hall of Fame game?
Yeah, I believe it's. I know it's the Bears for sure. I think it's the Texans.
Yeah. And don't look to see. We're not going to get Caleb Williams, so don't think we're going to get Caleb Williams at all.
We'll be lucky to be a snap. Maybe throw him out there for the first snap. That's it.
Just to trot him out there, just to be like, hey, he's getting experience. He's learning how to come out of the tunnel.
I mean, how to hold the huddle together.
Yeah,
how to get everybody to huddle up.
Huddle up. Yeah,
I'm sure at USC they didn't do that a lot.
No, probably not. But Hot Take City, thank you again, man, for tuning in as well. Make sure anybody who's new to this and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you hit the notifications and hit the little dingy. Patty also said that they hope that Pacheco or Rashad falls to them in the third round. I honestly think that you could probably hold off on running back. You probably don't need a second one. If you're taking Brees, don't worry about your second running back right off the bat. Focus on those wide receivers because I think a lot of talent's going to fall to you in those mid rounds, especially at the wide receiver spot. So,
well, and with it being redraft, you could draft guys like Devin Singletary for this year, who's probably the starter. Zach Moss, who might be the starter, and then Zamir White. Take Brown. Rounds later after you take Moss to have the hand. Like a handcuff makes sense in a redraft, but you could just take these 1-year wonders in knowing that you're not going to keep them anyway, unless they somehow like kill it, which I just don't see it. But you could do that so much more in redraft. So let stuff like that fall and take what you can get.
Yeah,
and let from the waiver wire.
Yeah, let your second running back fall, Patty. Focus on wide receiver and get yourself a good round team in the flex spots and those second and third wide receiver spots. It's important. So. As well. All right, let's go, Mark. Let's start with we could start with the one that that the Hot Take City tweeted.
Yeah, we're gonna start. That's gonna be the first.
We're gonna start with that. All right, perfect.
Yeah,
let's start with that one. Hot Take City, you're gonna get your answer. I hope you're listening still.
Now, normally we have Eli with us, so normally I would read the trades and really pick good ones. This time I was just If I saw a trade, I was bookmarking it because I didn't want to have too much information before the show. So that way, because it's just you and I right now, where Eli can bounce more stuff off of you and him, and I'm more just the
Right.
mediator. So it's a one quarterback league. His current starting running backs are good but very, very young. Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, and then you have Rico Dowdle and Antonio Gibson.
Ew.
So Hot Take City would be giving up Pop Douglas and a 2025. It says mid third, but 25 third. No matter, it's a third round pick. So at
Right.
that point, for Najee Harris.
Oh. Yeah, I'm taking Najee. regardless of roster construction, believe it or not, in this situation, I would probably be taking Najee in this situation. I like Pop Douglas a lot. I think Pop Douglas is going to be a very steady wide receiver this year, but I don't see him ever getting above the flex, like a rotational flex spot, right? He's not going to be entrenched as a starter. You're only getting a third, you're only giving up a third with him back. So that third round is real hit or miss. Like I love the third round. A lot of people don't like the third round. And with this situation, I feel that it helps get you a veteran presence that should remain relevant in the league for the future as well. With Jonathan Brooks and Benson, who Benson's probably going to have to wait a little bit, right? Like Benson's going to probably have to wait just a little bit to before he takes over the role. It could be week 8, could be week 12, it could be week 3, but we don't know what Benson is. He's probably not going to start the year as the starter over Connor. And then Jonathan Brooks is on PUP right now. He's going to be, and he had a late ACL injury, so it's going to be, it's going to be a very slow bring him back into the fold. So you don't really have a startable running back at this point in time. Gibson's good, but you're also now getting rid of another Patriot. You have 2 Patriots on your team with Gibson and Pop. Now I know they play 2 different positions, but they're 2 guys that are going to be more
similar,
of like a rotational, very similar. They are similar. Yes.
Very gadgety type players.
Yeah.
So honestly, you would possibly be shooting yourself in the foot at times with having both, because one game it might be Douglas that gets the couple screen passes. The other game it might be Gibson. I understand the concern with maybe Najee not having a contract from the Steelers next year, but for me, and you and I are a little bit higher on Najee than I think the consensus out there on Najee. We liked him a lot coming out. Yes, he was a little bit older, but he's just a well-rounded running back, and the hope is that at least with Arthur Smith, that's who he focuses on at the running back position. But take the veteran presence. If you're in a rebuilding team, this player and pick isn't giving up that great of anything that if Najee at least hits in a few games and you're in a rebuild, you could probably flip him for even just a second round pick, and you've already pretty much made back what you traded away.
Yeah.
Possibly a late first to a contender that maybe they had their starting running back go down and they need Najee to make that playoff run. So you get a late first out of them.
The way that I would look at this too is you say your concern is with Najee and where he goes next year, but let me ask you from this perspective. What do you think Pop Douglas gives you for the next 3 years? Right? Like he's in his second year in New England. He comes off an injury. He flashed in certain spots, but is he going to be just a flash guy? Is he going to be better suited for best ball? Like who is Pop Douglas, right? That's the big question. And where do you see his trajectory? Because if you think Pop Douglas is going to be a wide receiver 1 for you and he's going to dominate the league or be that dude, the bad news is it's probably not going to be the case. The good news is at least you'd have somebody that you think you can rely on, right? Najee's going to be a reliable guy, and I think it doesn't matter really where he goes. There's some teams out there that may not necessarily be quote unquote running back needy, but there's always guys being signed. I mean, We see it all every year. Joe Mixon to Houston. They had issues after Damian Pierce looked like he was going to be a stud in this league for years to come. All of a sudden, he falls off the wagon. Devin Singletary takes over. Singletary's gone, and they bring in Joe Mixon. So I don't think you should worry too much about Najee and where he's going to be. I think this is actually a very cheap buy for Najee in comparison to where I think he could possibly go, honestly.
I mean, and to be fair, it is a 10-man league, so
Right.
that third isn't as far away as a 12 team, but it's still, to me, it's still a third round pick. It's still just a even bigger dart throw. Take Najee now, and like I said, you could possibly flip him for more. And if you don't, you're not losing a ton unless for some reason you hit that third round pick with a great Cooper Kupp pick all of a sudden.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp. I mean, Kenny Golladay for the 4 years he was in Detroit before he disappeared off the face of the planet.
Decided not to know how to play football again.
Rob, thank you for joining us as well. Any questions that you have about fantasy football, dynasty, or just in general, go ahead and put it in the comments. We'll get to it as well. All right, that one's out of the way. Hot Take City. I hope we solved your problem, solved your issue. Go ahead and take the trade. I think it will work out for you in the long run. Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, what other trades do you have for us, Mark?
All right, this one's a 12-team Superflex PPR. Devontae, I'm assuming it's Adams. It doesn't actually say, so it could be Devonta Smith, which would make a difference in this trade, but they spell their names differently, don't they?
They do.
Devonta Smith.
Okay.
Yeah. He spelled it D-E, and I think Devontae spelled it D-A.
Yeah. Well, no, I think they both spell it D. They both spell it D-E, but Devonta Smith. It's not Devontae Smith. It's Devonta Smith at the end.
So it's Devonta Smith, JSN, and Chiga Okonkwo.
Hey, Okonkwo, you got it.
Yeah, see?
All right, Mark.
Or Debo, Kelsey, and Sutton.
Oh, for me, that's easy. If it's a dynasty league, that which I'm assuming it is, that's easy for me.
Yeah, dynasty.
That's the JSN side. Now the only question that I would be contender versus rebuild type of thing. What's up, Sam? Thank you for tuning in. That would be the only difference in this case, but I think in the long term, with dynasty purposes, I want the younger players in this case. Kelsey might be around for another 2 to 3 years, but we talked about tight end and how awful of a position is in fantasy football almost daily, because it is. Kelsey was the tight end 3 last year, and he was way off the mark compared to where he was, the last few years, and it was pretty dreadful by Kelsey's numbers are concerned, and he still finishes the tight end 3. So I think I'd rather take my chance with JSN and Devontae Smith in this case. And my belief with Smith, I'm not a huge fan, but I think I would rather just take it here and go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Devonta fan either. But at this point, Debo with the Niners, what's going on with him and Ayuk, and they're possibly both being, shopped around. Sutton and that situation, they gave him some extra money this year, but who knows what they're doing in Denver right now. Kelsey's honestly the most stable and best piece there, but again, maybe you get 2 years, hopefully 3, maybe 1. JSN to me is just the best piece all around there, and Devonta's not a terrible, usually wide receiver 2 for your fantasy team. So, and you could, if you really don't believe in him, like I would be looking to just flip him then for something else.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
If the Eagles play more than 12 games, Sam, then maybe Devontae Smith will end up hitting a cusp or moving up a cusp or some sort or something. I don't know. For me, I would rather just keep JSN in this situation. There's a lot of people who played at Ohio State who felt that JSN was one of the best Ohio State wide receivers to come out in the recent years, and that's huge, in the sense of who has come out of Ohio State at wide receiver. So I think I'd take the younger guy in this situation and roll with it on the younger side. And Okonkwo is also on the cusp of being a top 7 tight end if he gets some kind of involvement at all. But I mean,
But
hey, what's top
7
7?
to 24.
I was going to say,
Right.
what is that? 47 receptions for 650 yards and 5 touchdowns? Sure.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, tight end 7 for you. Whatever.
All right. 12-team Superflex Dynasty. Bryce Young or Ladd McConkey and Justin Fields.
Oh, man. So my heart is saying the Justin Fields side because I'm a Fields believer. And I think that he could end up being a starter in Pittsburgh, and I think he got an unfair shake in Chicago. I will die on that hill. I have died on the hill all offseason. However, he does not have a contract next year at this point in time. He is battling with a veteran in Russ, and if he doesn't beat out Russ, what does that mean for Fields next year? Does Pittsburgh shell out the money and say, you are our guy, we like what we saw over the course of the year? Or do they go elsewhere? And then, McConkey's a rookie. It's a shiny new box. Like, it could be a yacht, but it could be a lump of coal, So, Bryce has been in a terrible situation last year. Did not look good at all. But he is the first overall pick, regardless of whether or not you felt like he should be. Man. I'm going to stick with my first instinct. I'm going to say Fields and McConkey in this situation, but I don't know if I'm excited about it.
I'm taking Bryce Young for the upside. I like the situation Ladd is in right now.
Yeah.
And the possibility of what Ladd could be. But he could also be Hunter Renfrow.
Yes, he could. Absolutely. Absolutely.
In an offense that wants to run the ball. And Jim Harbaugh has never shied away that he wants to run the ball. We all know that.
And that's why he signed Baltimore's backfield.
To run the ball.
Yep.
So Ladd could be wonderful. He could have a year. Hunter Renfrow had a wide receiver 1 year.
Yep.
But it's not something that lasts. Now, he could be Cooper Kupp also.
Sure.
It's a possibility. Justin Fields could end up being better than Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Or he could not be on a team next year.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted him from Chicago, and it took a 6th-round pick to get there. That's it.
Yep.
So I'm taking the guy that at least is guaranteed playing time this year, because neither one of the other ones, we all expect Ladd to be out there, but it's not a guarantee with Jim Harbaugh. I mean,
right.
He might play the veterans ahead of Ladd McConkey, and it just might take Ladd time to figure out the NFL. It's not a foregone conclusion that he just starts. I'll take Bryce Young and probably get 2 years at least from him.
Yeah.
And hope he figures it out.
I will say that this my percentage was closer than 51 to 49. It would be like 50.6 to 50.4. It's just the way that I looked at it was between Bryce Young and Ladd McConkey, and Justin Fields was kind of like an addition and hope to hit it type of situation. But I'm
taking the quarterback.
I don't exactly.
I'm taking the
I don't fault anybody for picking Bryce Young in this situation at all. And
this
to be honest with you, Dave Canellis,
right,
and Dave Canellis could end up being the guy that needed him down there. I just don't like Tepper, and I'm afraid that the Carolina franchise, we saw what happened with Washington's franchise, with an awful owner, is just going to continue to get in the way of the franchise. And I like the GM and Dan Morgan, and I like Dave Canellis as a coach, but can Tepper get out of their way? That's the big question. So, it's really close for me, just because I do like Fields, and I think Fields is hopefully going to be Pittsburgh's starter next year. But I think it would go a long way if we knew that he outbeat Russ this year.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't have a lot of details on this next one. It just says PPR.
They're my favorite. I like
PPR.
this.
So
what's the roster construction? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
PPR. The roster construction is points per reception.
Okay.
DK and Pacheco, or Pittman and Javonte Williams.
Sam's a Denver guy. He's in Colorado. We were just talking about the backfield there today. Man, I'm going with the best player in this trade. I'm going Pittman. Javonte. I understand why somebody might go DK and Pacheco because Pacheco is seen as a step up for Javonte. I don't know how far of a step up he is, but he's considered one inside the community. So
he's the starter where Javonte is this unknown at this point.
Right, and I think that's probably yeah, right, and I think that's probably one of the biggest things is we're not really sure what we're getting with Javonte. So Samaje Perine's there too, and
it's Jaleel McLaughlin. That's the guy.
Jaleel McLaughlin, but Audric Estime apparently has been turning heads as well.
Jaleel's the guy I think everybody's worried about just because he actually showed something last year of good.
I will say
you're running back to me, but
I will say you're probably going to get more receptions from Pacheco than you are Javonte, but I think Pittman is going to. I think Pittman is going to be an all-around better receiver than DK this year, as long as Anthony Richardson can stay healthy. Personally,
I see. I don't agree with that. Pacheco's not a big receiving back in that offense.
I didn't say he was going to be a big receiving back. I said he was going to receive more than Javonte.
Okay.
Jaleel McLaughlin's going to be that guy. Anytime there's going to be Javonte might end up being a 2-down thumper.
See, I think they look at it the other way. I think they look at Jaleel and the Javonte will come in on the other downs. But to me, I think Javante's the better running back than Jaleel. I think this is all just camp talk, whatever. Maybe it's Sean Payton saying it, but if you're not gonna play him, you're gonna trade him. Somebody's gonna call and be like, "Hey, we'll throw you a 5th-round pick for this guy."
Yeah, for sure.
And because he's to me he's too talented,
especially when you start getting injuries.
I actually only included this trade because when I looked at it, it was already a finished poll, so I knew the percentages, and it was 88% on the DK Pacheco side.
Yeah, because people hate Javonte.
But to me, I was like blown away by it being that big of a difference. I could see 60-40, but I don't understand the hype around DK Metcalf. He's just a slightly better version of Deshaun Jackson in fantasy football. At the end of the year, his numbers look great, but what did he do with you on a consistent basis? Not great. He's going to have a huge game, and then he's going to do nothing, and it's going to be all JSN and
Lockett.
Doug Baldwin, but it's not Doug
Baldwin.
Baldwin.
Wow.
Yeah. Lockett. So I don't get the DK love, even if you don't like Javonte that much. Pittman to me is just so much more consistent and a true wide receiver one than DK is.
Yeah.
That I would much rather have the upside of Javonte with Pittman than the safeness of Pacheco and the downside of DK.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would rather have DK in a best ball league than I would relying on him starting every week.
Yeah, because you're going to put him out there. He's not going to do anything. You're going to sit him. He's going to go off, and you're just going to play the ping pong game all year. And
I mean, I don't think DK is benchable by any means, but you have to account him as a question mark. Is he going to score me 6 or is he going to score me 60? Like it's just you don't know what you're going to get with him. So
let's see, DK Metcalf. 6,
he had like 3,
a 2, but 13, 12, 11. I mean, they're not like these. But then at 42, so you look at the 42 and go, "Oh, I got to start him." So then you get a 13, a 13, a 15. So those aren't terrible numbers, but
those are flex. Those are flex numbers, though.
Yeah, not from the guy you think is this wide receiver one.
Right. Yeah.
We don't even know if he's going to be on the team or what quarterback he's going to have after this year.
Oh, you don't even know who you're going to have for quarterback this year, to be honest with you, with the way Seattle's talking about Howell.
I mean, but you at least have Sam Howell, Geno Smith, that's for me, not a huge difference. I would trust both of them to be able to throw the ball to DK Metcalf. We don't know what you're getting next year.
Well, I'm just
Kirk
saying
Cousins might be on the prowl.
I'm just saying that you don't know what you're getting in general. Even next year, like even this year, like you're not sure what you're getting. Yeah, sure they can get throwing the ball, but is it going to be a guy that is going to be good enough that it's going to be the starter again next year? Like that's the key. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah. No, I take Pittman's side. I'll be in that minority all day and scream it to the don't care.
Agreed. 12-team, 2-quarterback, half PPR.
Oh, okay.
Garrett Wilson and a 25-second, or Devon Achane and Brian Thomas.
What was the first one again? A second and what?
Garrett Wilson.
Oh, Garrett Wilson. I like Achane, but again, running backs, you're not sure. Jalen Wright got drafted this year. They still have a carousel of guys that was with McDaniel in San Francisco. Tua is a huge question mark in general on that team. And then Brian Thomas is he's a wide receiver 3 to start off with. Like they brought in Gabe. I think he's more talented than Gabe and will probably end up passing Gabe on the depth chart, eventually. But right now, he's going to start off the year as the 3, so you're going to be kind of waiting on him a little bit to get into that offense.
I mean,
and then
talking about Evan Ingram,
right?
Etienne, Kirk,
yeah,
Gabe. That's a lot.
Yeah, and on top of that too, like Wilson and a second in this trade. Like you're getting a second out of the ordeal as well. So, and Wilson's the best player in the trade. So I'm saying Wilson. No
I
problem.
agree. The hesitation on that side taking Garrett Wilson is, what does Aaron Rodgers look like coming back from injury? And then who are we going to have as quarterback for this team after that? Whether Aaron Rodgers stays around another year, Garrett Wilson looks at the team and goes, I am out of here. This quarterback carousel is too much for me. This organization's too much for me. I'm going somewhere else. Signs a deal, whatever he does. But yeah, I agree. Garrett's just I know a lot of people are very high on Achane and the upside that he possibility brings. For me, I'm taking Garrett Wilson over him at this point. And then Brian Thomas in the second isn't that far off, mainly because we don't know what we're getting next year from the draft. You could have no quarterbacks and you could have 5 quarterbacks coming out next year that you want. So that second is really fluid to me at this point, not knowing what that quarterback situation is going to look like, because it's a lot of unknowns in the college quarterback ranks for NFL currently.
Really quarterback and running back coming out, to be honest with you. Like wide receiver seems to be a little more definitive, but it's also, I also look at this too as like, even if Aaron Rodgers sticks around, I still think there should be some concern because of his age and like all this off season, like away from the field distractions that he's been causing, and like when I look at Aaron Rodgers and I look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers at the age that he is at playing football, and then seeing what he's doing away from the field, it makes me wonder how much he's actually dedicated to the game still. Right? He seems to be having vested interest in other areas, in other spots of the world and other things, which is fine because, everybody's a human being. They need to have a break from it. But when it seems like it's becoming more and more of a vocal point of who you are, it makes people wonder, like, where's your dedication level to this game? Yes, you're a super talented guy. Yes, you may still go out there and throw up a lot of yardage and whatever else, but how much of it is actually you being dedicated to winning a championship to this team, when everybody else is seeing what's happening in the off season, right? Away from the field. So
I mean, teammates are going to question, what are you here? Are you going to be here? I really think was a big downfall of Tom Brady in his final season.
Yep.
It became a question of, are you really here for this right now, or is other things taking your focus away? You're flying to games by yourself the day of the game because you had previous engagements the night before. You weren't doing walkthroughs. Is it going to be the same thing with Aaron Rodgers? You know, you
Well,
get to these ages, and you have to start thinking of your time outside of the NFL, which I get. Start lining up, but if you're still going to play, you got to be there in these times. These are when you build the relationships with your teammates.
Yep. And especially a team that's, if you look on offense, as young as the Jets are. I mean, that's a young team.
All around.
Like
all around.
Defense, well, yeah,
offense,
even defense too. Yeah, that's a super young team across the board. So having a veteran presence like that in Aaron Rodgers, like these guys will eventually start going, okay, what is happening? Why is he not here? What's going on? You know, like even I don't care if you're Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. These players are going to start questioning this if you're doing that. So hopefully for a lot of fantasy stakes, is because of a lot of young players in New York that's not the case for me because I have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall in a lot of spots. However, and Malachi Corley, I pretty much have Corley everywhere. However, I'm not sold on it, so proceed with caution for sure.
Best ball for this next one.
Hey, best ball.
Dynasty best ball.
Oh, hey, okay.
So it is a super flex one. It is a 12 team. There is a extra half point for tight ends, so it's 1.5 for tight ends, 1 for everybody else. There is tight ends involved, so that's why that is important. I know you love your tight end and tight end trade, but there is one on each side, so that evens it out for you, I feel like. So it's David Njoku, Wan'Dale Robinson, and a 2025 third. Now this says mid to late. We always say you don't really know, but
you don't really know. Yeah.
2025 third, or Evan Ingram and KJ Osborne. So to me, this comes down to: would you rather have David Njoku or Evan Ingram?
Yeah, but in a best ball format, I feel like Wan'Dale Robinson is actually more valuable than KJ Osborne in this situation, just because the Giants' wide receiving core is not very good. But the draft pick is kind of a scale tipper here for me. I'm going to say Njoku's side with the draft pick. I think that Wan'Dale Robinson's more valuable than KJ Osborne, regardless if they're throw-ins or not, even all 5'3" of him. But the draft pick in Njoku, I think I would rather have than Ingram if you took the other two pieces out. So, yeah, I'm going to say Njoku in the second. I know that Cleveland went through third. Sorry, I know that Cleveland went through offensive coordinator change and some offensive, bringing in Jerry Jeudy, et cetera, but I still feel like Njoku is probably higher on the pecking order than Evan Ingram is in Jacksonville. So,
I lean the other way. We don't know what we're getting with Deshaun Watson and Njoku together. They really have not had much time together. Everybody's high on Njoku from last year, and that was all Joe Flacco time for the most part. That's when he broke out. Evans played really well with Trevor Lawrence, possibly last season, though. Njoku probably there longer. KJ being with the Patriots right now, he's not with Patriots?
No, he is, but he's going to probably KJ may get cut.
Possibly. But if he makes it, it's not like that wide receiver room is this I
just don't see it
set room. But that's the thing. I would take the chance there with Evan Ingram. I prefer Evan Ingram to David Njoku.
I do too.
Wan'Dale could in a best ball be great for you because he could be a gadget guy and have these huge games. He's just so injury prone that Giants offense is no idea what it is. I mean, there's nobody around, so maybe it's Wan'Dale now. The third is nice, and it's still a third to me. For me, Evan's the best player. I'm taking Evan because I think his games will be bigger in a best ball format than Njoku. Even if at the end of the year they're the same, I think Evan just has bigger games.
I prefer Evan to Njoku. However, I don't think that neither one of them are that far off from each other. So I think it's a fairly equal tight end situation. So in that case, I always default to whatever other piece that I feel like I could succeed with, and that's the third for me. Even though it's a third, I still feel like I would rather just take that extra ammo and add it to my team for next year, because I don't think Njoku and Ingram are going to end that far off from each other. I mean, regardless of whatever Watson and Njoku may be, I don't think that they're going to end the season like 12 spots apart unless there's an injury involved. So it's one of the situations where it's like even here's a third to go with it. Just that's the side I would just take in that situation. I do prefer Ingram though.
Just at this point, Watson's just hard to trust. I own Watson, so it's a really hard situation to be in because he could be great, and then he also could be such trash that he's been lately. All right, 10-team PPR dynasty. Waddle or Adams and Kamara?
10 teams PPR. Just because it's dynasty, I think I'm going to side with the Waddle side. I know there's a lot of questions surrounding him and like, what's Miami going to do? Are they going to make him be the guy in there? And I think I'm going to stick with Waddle in this case. It's hard giving up two solid depth pieces I say depth pieces, but two solid starters and veterans in Adams and Kamara, especially if you don't have the depth behind them. But if you do,
team makeup definitely makes it different here.
Yeah, if you do, I think that you definitely bring in Waddle. So I say Waddle. I'll take Waddle in this case.
I rebuild contender. I'm taking Waddle. And, I get you losing a bit of depth there with especially the running back with Kamara and but I'll take the age, and Waddle has shown I'm pretty sure he had a down year last year, but that offense was very up and down as a whole. Everybody looks at it that it had this great year, but I mean, what's his name at 19 touchdown Mostert, but I mean, I think he had like 900 yards.
Yeah, most of his touchdowns came from like 2 yards out. So
it was just a weird right. And there were times in previous seasons that's where Waddle was catching an out route.
And didn't he score 4 in the game when they scored 80 points or whatever in like week 3 or something like that?
He definitely had a 4 touchdown game at some point, whether it was that game or another one. I don't know. But that game, H&, I think had like 2 or 3 touchdowns and stuff. It was they had such a weird season. They had 80-point game, and then I think they came out the next week and lost by a ton, and then he lost to the Titans late in the weird season for Miami. I'm trusting Waddle.
Yeah, I'm trusting Waddle too.
This is a perfect one for you. We got a tight end and then a running back that you love. So like this is like perfect.
Wait. So it's a running back I love. Let me see if I can guess here. If it's a running back that I love, go ahead.
So it is a Superflex 12-team PPR. It is George Kittle or Blake Corum and Zach Charbonnet.
Honestly, I think at this point I'm still taking Kittle. Corum, a huge question mark. He reminds me so much of Kyron. They're both in the same backfield. You can't trust McVay. And Charbonnet is in Seattle. I think they're going to use both running backs more than what we saw last year with the new regime. But Kenneth Walker's still there, so you still
he's better.
So you're trading for 2 RB2s like on a team. So RB4s or lower,
hopefully.
or lower. And for a tight end 1, potentially tight end 2, high end, regardless of whatever it may be with Kittle. So I'm taking Kittle in this case. It's just,
it's Kittle. Those running backs aren't, unless you're possibly the Kyron and Walker owner, then I totally get making this trade. Because again,
you have both of them, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you are the owner of both of them, I would consider this trade because Kittle isn't that much to lose. He isn't the greatest tight end at this point of his career. He's very inconsistent, but I'm taking him over those 2 otherwise.
Yeah.
Because if you're bringing those 2 on because you look at your running back room and don't like it, they're not helping that.
Yeah, no.
So
No,
you
you're
might as
still
well
going to look
just
at it. You're still going to look at it, and not like it. Like,
blow everything up if that's your running back room.
yeah.
Speaking of Kenneth Walker,
Oh, yay.
12-team, 1 quarterback, tight end premium. Kenneth Walker or Devondre Swift and a 2025 second.
Well, so 1 quarterback doesn't really mean anything.
It makes the second possibly less valuable because
Well, yeah, I mean,
quarterbacks aren't driving value up the board.
I'm going to say before this offseason, it probably would have been Walker easily. If this was this time last year, I probably would have said Walker easily, even with Swift in Philadelphia.
But the trade, and you didn't know what, only
Right.
1 year deal.
1 year deal. But with the investment that Chicago put into Swift, I think that this kind of makes it a little bit closer. I think, and Walker's still not sure what we're getting with him because, his second contract's coming up. So,
and the new coaching staff who didn't draft him.
Right. I think I'm going to side on the Swift side here. I'm going to say probably 51-49 because I could see it going either way because usually in a lot of these cases you want the younger guy. But I think with the investment that Chicago put into Swift, and he did have a really good year last year for Philadelphia. So
yeah,
I'm going to say Swift here. I think the Swift side with the draft pick. The draft pick doesn't mean as much because, like you said, it's 1 quarterback, so it devalues the pick a little bit. But I think I'd rather
would definitely change my mind. I think I would go with that side for sure in a super flex.
Yeah, you're probably going Walker.
I'm going to take Walker.
Walker, yeah. I don't fault you for it.
I worry Swift is maybe a 1 year with this Chicago Bears team, unless he does have a really good year. He's probably easily cuttable next year.
Well, what was the contract?
Was? I mean, I don't know it offhand, but I can't assume they handcuffed themselves with a terrible contract just to get you Swift.
I don't think it was I don't think it was a terrible contract.
3 years, $24 million.
Yeah. So that's what, $8 million a year. I mean, that's pretty high end for a running back nowadays. So I don't know what the details are on it though. I think he's there for at least
$9 million next year from a $5 million this year.
I think he's there for at least
down. Sure, I'm not saying he is, but if he doesn't perform, I believe in the way they are hoping on a team that believes it's ascending. Roschon Johnson, I think, is a good running back and could possibly overtake Swift if he's falling back into his Detroit Lion ways or getting injured. Stability isn't what I get from DeAndre Swift at this point.
Yeah, so his injury history is the biggest issue. Like the injury side of things, for sure.
Not that Walker is either. Like you said, second contract, new regime, all that stuff. I'll take that.
Yeah.
In a 1 quarterback league.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Because the second isn't moving the needle for me as much unless I knew if
it
was 201, then sure. But at this point, this could be the 212, and I'll take Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, the second doesn't really move the needle at all for me. It's just I'm thinking with Chicago's investment, he's going to be at least there for 2 years. Now, regardless, whether or not they use Khalil Herbert in a way or they use Roschon Johnson in a way that's more, definitive. They both had a chance to steal this backfield, and they still went out and signed Swift. So that's the reason why I don't feel like that I'm as worried about either one of them, at least for this year. It's just Swift's injury history would be the biggest key for me, would be whether or not he can stay healthy. And Chicago is brutal and cold, so.
It is. Swift has been Georgia, a dome, and then Philly last year. But
yeah, but I mean, when it was cold, they were losing every game anyways, Sam.
Luckily, Swift was still playing pretty well for them at those times.
Yes, he was.
All right.
We got time. Here. Looks like we got time for maybe a couple more here. So
yeah. Probably do these next two because this one's a good running back pick look, and then the next one's got some nice rookie rookie talk with it.
Nice.
So Javonte Williams and Kendre Miller, or a 2025 second mid supposedly, and a 2025 early to mid second. Now, okay, if the team looks like it's terrible, I can understand early to mid, but 2 seconds, or Javonte Williams and Kendre Miller.
I'm going to take Javonte's side here just because I believe in him and I believe in the upside. The seconds don't really do me any good unless I'm actually literally just trying to draft pick stockpile and sell off assets. So without knowing the roster construction of this team, I definitely think that I would probably take the Javonte Williams side. So in a vacuum, I had to get him in there. I haven't said it once. We're 55 minutes into the show and I haven't said it once. So you should be proud of me.
Kendre Miller to me is the tipping point because he's prime to take the Mark Ingram role. Now, obviously, it's a whole new coaching view, but there's very similar. Dennis Allen was with Champagne. That role.
Mm-hmm.
So I would bet on the upside of those two guys with the possibility that you could get a first for even maybe both of them if Javonte doesn't work out that great. Like he's still just mediocre. You might get a first for those two guys then. And I'll take that over the 2 seconds. Even though they are mid to early,
right.
I'll take those two. You would literally have to be a team that just like those two are your only pieces, and you're just trying to get some kind of draft pick for them while you can.
That's what I mean. Like, I just feel like that.
It has to be that terrible.
I mean, if I'm in a rebuild, then I fully understand taking the 2 seconds here. But if you're posting it on Twitter, I feel like that you're probably the guy that owns the running backs in this situation. So you're not the one selling them. So
I'm not even just talking about a normal rebuild. You legit have to be like these are you have a ton of first next year, and these are like the only 2 guys you got left on your team that really mean anything, and you're just getting some seconds just to have, and you're just going to own the draft.
The flip side of this is it could be one of those things where those 2 guys are depth pieces for the guy, and maybe getting the 2 seconds and him selling off to a team that's awful. Maybe the way that he's doing it or she's doing it or whatever, and that's why they posted it on Twitter to see what would happen. It's hard to tell. I mean, this is one of those situations.
Depth in that scenario, then.
No, I mean like for him, like he might be looking. These are going to be 2 early seconds next year because this team is awful that wants these 2 running backs. I just personally believe I'd rather keep Javonte and Kendre because they're both fairly young in this situation. So,
very much. All right, last one. Superflex, full PPR. The current quarterbacks this person owns are Stroud, Fields, and Russ. Would you rather take Caleb Williams with the 101 or have Marvin Harrison at the 102 and George Pickens? Stroud, Fields, and Russ are your quarterbacks.
Caleb. I think I still want Caleb. Like,
because honestly, Fields and Russ might not be a starter next year.
Well,
together.
Right, yeah. Both those guys may not end up being starters at all. So I mean, Pittsburgh may just be like, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and just take Quinn Ewers or whoever might be in the quarterback situation. Yeah, no, I don't see how you can do that. And I think that if you're trading back from 101 to 102, you'd have to take Jaden Daniels and George Pickens there, not Marvin Harrison Jr.
I would so much prefer that. Even don't get me wrong, Marvin Harrison looks like a great player, and he could be this next guy. Sure. But if you don't have quarterbacks on your team, CJ Stroud was really good, but it wasn't like he put up the QB1 in his rookie season. He was good for a rookie, and maybe he gets better, but maybe he stays right where he's at and he's QB8 for the rest of his career, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
But it isn't doing anything for you when you don't have a second one then to make up for it.
If I have the 101 and I'm being offered the 102 in Pickens, then I'm taking Pickens in the 102 just so I can take Jaden Daniels, not Marvin Harrison Jr. So that doesn't make any sense to me as to why you would do that in that situation, honestly. It seems like
People
it's
are
actually
very enamored by Marvin Harrison Jr. though.
I understand that, and I get that he's been picked first overall in some super flex leagues, and some people were like dead set, like, I got the 101, so I can take Marvin Harrison Jr. Da, 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 da. Like, cool, good for you. We don't know who his quarterback will be next year, but sure, have fun. I think in the super flex league, I'd just rather have the quarterback in general. Like,
Some
I
people want
love
Ferrari Marv.
like, I love it. I love it. Or Dove just hyping up everybody on like the most ridiculous shit ever. Did you see the one I posted the other day? Did I send it to you?
The Zach
Yeah, I
Wilson?
did. I sent it to you. The Zach Wilson
Zach Wilson.
little 5-yard out route, slant route on against air and
No defense.
no defense.
It's not even like it was a defender and he put it in the right spot. It was literally a slant or curl or whatever, and there's nobody around.
Zach throws like no zip on it, just like a.
No. He made sure he got it to the guy's chest.
Looking like a
throw it too
stud.
hard, he might overthrow him, and they're going to put that on Twitter.
Looking like a stud. I love it. Oh God! All right, and so I think that's going to do it for us tonight. I know that this is a little bit different of a type of show for us, and it's one of our favorite types of shows. We love talking about trades, and it kind of gives you a little bit of insight as to where your pieces are and the value should be over across the board as well. If you do have any questions, if you do have trade questions, draft questions, anything like Patty did earlier, comment by all means, please. Hot Take City retweeted earlier. Tag us, Dynasty Academy on X. The E in Academy is a 3. Super simple. You can also hit us up here on Shady Sports Network. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button. We try to be here every Thursday. It doesn't always happen that way, but we do try to be here every Thursday at between 8 and 8:20ish, give or take. Depends on the kids, because I got kids, so it really just depends on when they want to go to bed, or when they feel like they want to go to bed. So, but we try to be here between 8 and 8:30. So tune in every Thursday. We're here, Dynasty Academy. We'll try to make sure we get some posts on Twitter or X if we don't have a show. And yeah, so anyways, if you have any questions and you want any advice, feel free to hit me or Mark up, and we'll talk about it on air as well.
Send the questions over to X. Maybe we'll save them for the show. Maybe we'll just answer them right then and there for you. But send them over. Maybe we'll answer them there and then talk about them on the show.
Yeah, and then and if you're from the leagues that we're in and you're watching this show as well, and here, get involved. Let's go. We'd love to have you on. Come on in.
And don't be afraid to ask the questions. Neither one of us will steer you in the wrong direction just because we play in the league with you. Yes. Winning to us is not as important as helping you with your team. We will 100% help you and give you a straight answer. Whether it would benefit us to give you the wrong one, we're not doing it.
Yeah, and
we wouldn't do the podcast and have the leagues to do that. It wouldn't make sense.
No, it wouldn't make any sense. And on top of that, too, is if you're worried about us being competitors, I will flat out tell you, as a competitor, I hope you fail. No, we just don't do that here. It's just not in our blood to do it. Like if we could, we'd have 12 teams that would win every year. But it's just not the way it works. But we're not going to steer you in the wrong direction on purpose. You may get bad advice eventually that comes back and haunts all of us, because it happens. But
that was just bad advice, though.
It was just bad advice. It was not on purpose. Because trust me, I've given myself a lot of bad advice over the years. So a lot. My team's like Return of the Empire will tell you that. So by all means,
some things just don't work out. You try a strategy, it doesn't work.
So you try a different one.
It happens,
and that doesn't work. And then the old strategy works, and then you go back to it, and then it doesn't work. So you're playing this carousel constantly. Rebuild this, rebuild that. But yes. So anyways, if you're worried about that, like Mark said, don't worry about it. We're not going to steer you in the wrong direction either. So make sure you hit up Shady Sports Network, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, hit the notification so that way you know that we are going to be on air as well. Like I said, every Thursday. Hopefully we'll get Eli back here in the near future. The season's right around the corner next week, as we get our first NFL game. It's a preseason game. Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans in the Hall of Fame game. Don't think we'll see CJ Stroud or Caleb Williams, so don't get too excited about that. But hey, it's football, right? For NFL?
Football.
For
means
for
it's
NFL.
Getting closer and closer.
For NFL.
4 weeks after that. 4 weeks after that.
For the NFL. I've had football on all year, but for the NFL.
Yeah.
For the NFL.
For the NFL.
All right, until next week, he's Mark Ongst. I'm Michael Washington, here on the Shady Sports Network. So long.